This is big breaking emergency news. Biden has activated United States war powers and foreign powers to deal with this current situation and conflict that's happening with Ukraine and Russia. And we also have situations going on with Israel, Iran, and Hezbollah right now. Biden has activated these powers, and this is going to get the U.S. more involved in these situations. All right, we also have warnings from the Secretary of Defense, and we also have top U.S. generals inside of Israel right now while these attacks are hitting. All right, we just had a major attack in Israel last night, and we now have top U.S. generals and Joint Chiefs of Staff are now in Israel, right? So is this a potential threat for our generals? Are they under fire right now? We're going to get into all the details here really quick, guys. Please just hit that like, hit that subscribe. I'm posting multiple videos a day, keeping you guys updated on all this big news, and it just helps to get these warnings out. I appreciate that. All right, so lots of big stuff going on. All right, just an update of what happened last night in Israel, because the U.S. has all their assets there right now in the Middle East, and they just ordered even more there. Right, the Secretary of Defense just ordered even more assets there, and now Biden is also activating these war powers and foreign powers to get the U.S. more involved in these situations. Okay, it says the spokesman for the Israel Defense Force has now confirmed that no damage was caused to any Israeli military bases in the north or center of the country during the rocket and drone attack by Hezbollah last night. All right, this happened on Saturday night. And it says, according to U.S. defense officials, it says, while American forces didn't kinetically participate in this morning's Israeli preemptive strikes against Hezbollah and their launch sites in southern Lebanon, the U.S. Air Force and Navy did provide intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance coverage both before, during, and after the strikes. All right, so they're saying that the U.S. was not directly involved dropping any bombs, right? But they were involved in pretty much everything else, right? And that is why all these assets have been sent to this region, right, in the Mediterranean and surrounding areas, is because if anything pops off, the U.S. is going to be right there on top of it, right? So they were providing ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, the U.S. military, during these Israeli strikes, right? And we're going to see this probably more in the future as well on any strikes, potentially even on Iran going forward, right? And we also have an update from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, right? This is General Charles Q. Brown Jr. He has now arrived in Israel, where he's set to meet with the IDF chief of general staff and other military and defense officials, right? And they're discussing preparations for an Iranian attack and other regional escalations. So the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Charles Brown Jr., is in Israel right now, right? When we just had hundreds of rockets barrage Israel, right? And saying there was no major damage. That's what's being reported from Israel. And it says General Brown will remain in Israel overnight before meeting on Monday with Israeli Defense Minister and then returning to the United States. All right, so right now there are also tens of thousands of people fleeing Israel too. All the airports are booked up, and it's hard to even get a flight right now out of the country. Everyone's trying to leave Israel, right? There's a mass evacuation essentially happening there right now. Okay, and this also, we are having war powers activated by Biden. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and this is for Ukraine and Russia. So we've seen attack after attack on Russia the past month or so. Okay, there's been a major incursion into Russia from Ukraine, and we've seen lots of military sites. We've even seen drone attacks on nuclear power plants. The Kursk nuclear power plant, this happened just yesterday. Okay, they were reporting a drone attack. Thankfully, they were able to stop it, but a alleged attack was targeting it. All right, we've had oil depots targeted. We've had seaports targeted. All this stuff just in the past week. All right, there's been a lot of major hits in Russia, and now Biden has activated these emergency war powers to essentially circumvent Congress to send more resources to Ukraine. All right, so here it is. This was just released Friday night, August 23rd, 2024. It says Memorandum on the Delegation of Authority under Section 506A1 of the Foreign Assistance Act of 1961. All right, it says Delegation of Authority under Section 506 of the Foreign Assistance Act of 1961 by the authority vested in me as President by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, including Section 621 of the Foreign Assistance Acts. I hereby delegate to the Secretary of State the authority under 506 to the FAA to the Foreign Assistance Act to direct the drawdown of up to $125 million in defense articles and services and Department of Defense and military education and training to provide assistance to Ukraine and make the determinations required under such sections to direct such a drawdown. All right. So Biden has essentially used this Foreign Assistance Act to send another $125 million to Ukraine. He actually just did this about 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and he is now activating the same emergency power to send another $125 million to Ukraine, and this is going to further assist them with these incursions that they're doing right now into Russia. Right, so the U.S. has commanders inside of Ukraine. NATO commanders are on the ground and doing reconnaissance and calling a lot of the shots and operations, kind of like we're seeing in Israel happen now too. All right, the same thing's been happening in Ukraine for years now, and the U.S. is also heavily funding and sending billions of dollars, we know, but this is outside of Congress. Normally this is an appropriated bill where there's normally this big fight every 6 months to refund the government, and this is always a part of it. Right, how much money are we going to be sending for foreign assistance and foreign aid? And this is a way that he keeps circumventing Congress. He keeps activating these war powers and these foreign powers to circumvent and send more money to Ukraine. All right, so that's what's happening right now there. And while this is happening, Biden has sent $250 million in the past 2 to 3 weeks, okay, outside of Congress. And this is when we've seen these devastating attacks. There was a major drone attack on Moscow just a couple days ago as well, where dozens and dozens of drones, it was reported almost 50 drones, were bombarding Moscow, the city, and the central regions, and they were able to shoot down most of them and mitigate most of the damage. But Russia is being bombarded. All right, we're also seeing more updates, all right, from the Secretary of Defense. He is giving an update and sending more U.S. assets to the Middle East right now. All right, so he said, this is a quote from him. He said, quote, "I spoke with the Minister of Defense today to continue our discussions about Israeli actions to defend against attacks by Lebanese Hezbollah. I reinforced our backing of Israel's right to defend itself, as well as the United States' ironclad resolve to support Israel's defense against threats from Iran and its regional partners and proxies. I have ordered the presence of 2 carrier strike groups to remain in the region. I have also expressed our support for completing negotiations on a ceasefire and hostage release deal." And it goes on to say that He has directed both the USS Theodore Roosevelt and the USS Abraham Lincoln, as well as other surface ships of Carrier Strike Group 2 and 3, to remain in the region. All right, so this is probably a major reason why we haven't seen this attack from Iran, is because the US is heavily invested in this region right now, and it's almost actually becoming a vulnerability around the world because we are leaving other parts of the world wide open right now. Okay, the US just ordered their ships out of the Pacific, okay? And part of this reason is that they're sending all the ships and strike groups to the Middle East right now to deal with Iran and put pressure on them and their groups, okay? That's probably part of the reason we have not seen any responses, and we probably won't, right? And that's probably why they feel so confident to send the Joint Chiefs of Staff to Israel right now in the middle of this barrage, right? There must be a high level of confidence that Iran is not going to make this attack, but it leaves open other parts of the world, right? Especially China and Taiwan. We know that is in the background, right? That is the next conflict that we are going to see pop off geopolitically, is the US, Taiwan, and China. Okay, we're going to have another similar situation to Ukraine, and even a little bit like Israel. Israel's a little bit different, right? But very similar to Ukraine, where there is this contested region, allegedly, and one country is going to try to claim this territory, and the US is committed to defending Taiwan. They've come out multiple times, and that's what all the top generals in the US are also warning of too, is that the next big war is going to be with China, right? So that's what we're dealing with now, and we could see China make a move while all of our assets are in the Middle East, right? So keep a lookout for that, and make sure you guys are getting prepared and getting ready and getting stocked up, because if anything does break out with China, we're going to see disruptions in the supply chain, and we're going to see basic goods and manufacturing potentially affected as well, right? Especially metal parts, die cast parts. They're going to be a major issue, right? We're going to see problems even repairing things, repairing vehicles, repairing planes, all this stuff. It's going to be a major issue if there is any type of military conflict with China, and that's probably part of the reason that it has been held off, is because our supply chains are so intertwined, all right? And China doesn't want that either. China doesn't want this conflict, and they also do not want us to stop buying their goods, right? So lots of things going on, but make sure you are ready and prepared and stocked up, right? We're working on our homestead here. We have dozens and dozens of chickens, all right? We have more eggs than we can do with, all right? Our kids, my son just harvests the eggs, gets the eggs for us every single day. He can barely carry them all in, all right? There's so many. That's what we're working on here. We have our gardens going, and that's how we're staying prepared. We also have our water tanks, our gas tanks. All these things stay stocked and stay ready to go in case anything happens, all right? So thank you guys. Please just hit it up for me down there. I appreciate that. It helps to get these warnings out. I hope you guys have big blessings for your life, your family, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.